2014 is almost over, and it is now time for my top 5 most pimp Linux games of 2014. Linux gaming has seen an explosion of titles hit the platform in 2014, and more importantly has seen some major quote-unquote AAA titles drop seemingly out of nowhere. For an operating system that just a couple of years ago had virtually zero games, open source games excluded of course, you have to recognize the magnificent amounts of awesome gaming has brought us Linux gamers. So for this video, I'm going to outline my top 5 games of 2014. This list isn't meant to be the end-all be-all games list, but what I enjoyed the most and think you guys should check out in your Linux adventures. The top 5 were not in any particular order. Putting them in order least to best would do each of these games a disservice. They all offer you different types of experience, fun factor, and enjoyment, which I don't believe in quantifiable terms of comparing game titles. At number 5, we have Borderlands 2. I know what you're thinking. Why isn't Borderlands the pre-sequel on this list, but Borderlands 2 is? Shut your traps and let me explain. Borderlands 2 is the apex of Borderlanding. Is that a word? Shit, it is now. It takes what is good about Borderlands 1 and makes it better while sticking to the great formula established in the initial title. Tons of content will have you locked in for a long time and give you plenty of guns to go hunting for long after you've completed your job as the vault hunter. My review on the pre-sequel will come soon, but the game suffers from pre-sequel degradation. Basically, pre-sequel adds mechanics to the game just for the sake of adding something new. Gearbox and 2K games makes good games in general and have proven to be Linux friendly also. Add in the amazing work of Aspire Media and their ports and you have a win-win situation. The game generally runs at a steady 60 frames per second on almost anything that can be considered gaming level graphics card, and has a very comparable graphics to its Windows counterpart minus PhysX. The bottom line, Borderlands 2 is a definition of Borderlands and deserves your well-earned money. And at number 4, we have Wasteland 2. Wasteland 2 is a post-apocalyptic adventure game with an isometric top-down view. You control a party in turn-based combat with a respectable amount of customizations allowed to your characters. The non-playable characters come in a rich and colorful variety with their own motivations, opinions, and agendas. I will warn you up front that this game has a fair amount of micromanagement when it comes to your party. Also, I can't forget the stupid things that the game does, like missing a shot while standing literally next to the enemy. While the game has some imperfections, which are in part to the fact that it's a statistics-based RPG, I don't see these as deal breakers. The game offers a distinct personality that draws you into the world and allows your choices to have an impact on the world in a meaningful way. Although this style doesn't lend itself to needing amazing graphics, Wasteland 2 executes in the graphics department surprisingly well. It gives a convincing ambient sounds and music and engages the player in a classic RPG style. At number 3, CounterStrike Global Offensive. For the first-person shooter department, CounterStrike Global Offensive gets the nod. Like all the Source-Engine games, CSGO plays exceptionally well at more than acceptable frame rates on a plethora of hardware. Yeah, I said a plethora. Back to business though. Graphics are clean, performance is smooth, audio is on point, and front factor is over 9,000. When it comes to Linux and first-person shooters, nothing compares to Global Offensive. The core of the game is team-based objective play that has centered around strategy for you to be successful at it. There are several game types to play, but I find competitive or classic casual to be the most fun by far. If you're a Linux user and you ditch consoles or Windows for good, CounterStrike Global Offensive is by far the best game out at the moment that will satisfy anyone's FPS crack habits. At number 2, Civilization 5. Warning, this game will eat up all your free time. Civilization 5 is a game that requires a certain amount of dedication. A single game could take weeks to play and finish. In Civilization 5, you're a leader of a civilization, obviously, and attempt to win by reaching one of several goals. You can win through tourism points, building a spaceship to reach a nearby planet, or simply being the most powerful after a set number of turns. The start of the game drops you in at primitive times and takes course over thousands of years till the end of the game. This is a turn-based strategy game, which means you take your turn moving, building, or doing whatever else you want to. Then the next civilization takes their turn as you wait, sort of like chess. Civilization 5 incorporates many factors such as diplomacy, research, expansion, economics, government, and military for you to manage. You can focus on all of them or just one. It's all up to you. If leading a civilization from dawn of time to the space station intrigues you, then Civilization 5 is a must-have. Even if that doesn't seem that interesting, I highly recommend you pick this title up on sale and support another superb Aspire Media port. Metro2033 Redux. And last but not, well, you know how cliche sayings go, we have Metro2033, a thrilling post-apocalyptic horror game set in the underground subway systems of Russia. You play as Artyom, who is a survivor of the nuclear war. The war ended with Russia bombarded with atomic bombs, leaving the country severely blanketed with radiation. You travel through the game fighting animals mutated nearly beyond recognition, Soviets, and the Fourth Reich. The main threat comes from the creatures called Dark Ones, which look like a cross between aliens and mutated humans. The main point, besides fighting through said mutants and other human enemies, is destroy the Dark Ones. This will lead you to one of two possible endings depending on how you play the game and the choices you made throughout. Metro2033 sports gorgeous graphics and great gameplay while submersing you to a storyline that'll keep you chasing the next checkpoint just to see what happens next. Once you're done with this game, it'll be added to your mental list of unforgettable games for sure. Absolutely, positively worth your time and money without hesitance.